Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We begin today's service with Shalom Aleichem. Please sing along. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
For those with a prayer book at home, we turn to page 9 as we light our Shabbat candles together.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehatlik shel Shabbat.
We turn to page 10 and we rise together for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav, meratzamanu, b'shabbat kodsho, me'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'asei bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher
Please be seated. Psalm 96.
שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, עשו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, עשו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומעולמות, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. כי כל אלוהי העמים מרימים, ואדוני שמיים עשה, הוד והדר לבניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, עשו מיום ליום ישועתו. עברו לאדוני משפחות עמים, עברו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, עברו לאדוני כבוד שמו, ישתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש. חיו מפניו כל הארץ, אמרו בגויים אדוני מלך, עפתי כל תבל בל תימות, ידים נמים במישרים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, עשו מיום ליום ישועתו.
On page 4, we turn back and continue with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך תשמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושם ולתפארת ולתהילה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי כי באורך קומי, אורי שיר דברי. כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise together and face the west as we greet Shabbat HaMalkah.
בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה וזולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לחנדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לחנדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה.
We remain standing and we turn to page 11. Please be seated. We turn to the bottom of page 13 as the great Rabbi Nachman of Wrocław taught us, Master of the universe, grant me the ability to be alone. May it be my custom to go outdoors each day, among the trees and grasses, among all growing things, there to be alone and enter into prayer. And there may I express all that is in my heart, talking with God to whom I belong. And may all grasses, trees, and plants awake at my coming. Send the power of their life into my prayer, making whole my heart and my speech to the life and spirit of growing things, made whole by their transcendent source. Oh, that they would enter into my prayer, that when I fully open my heart in prayer, supplication, and holy speech, that, oh God, when I pour out the words of my heart before your presence.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצא את ידכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and shalom, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, you delivered us. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in the most darkest times your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be at one and at shalom. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea, the song of our redemption, the Michomocha, page 21. The top of page 23. Adonai, our God, cause us to lie down in peace and raise us up, our sovereign, to life. Cover us with the sukkah of your peace, improve us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us, remove from us enmity, pestilence, war, hunger, and anguish. Let there be no evil before us or behind us. Protect us within the shadow of your wings. For you are our guardian and our helper, our divine ruler, merciful and gracious, Guard our going out and our coming into life and to peace, now and forevermore. Cover us with the sukkah of your peace. Bless you, Adonai, who spreads the sukkah of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. The bottom of page 23, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat in every generation as a covenant forever. It is a sign between me and the people of Israel that in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God rested and was renewed. We turn to page 24 and we rise together for tefillah.
Elohei ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע מוריד אתה מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים צומח נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך מביט ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. The bottom of page 29, as the great Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel always reminds us about tonight. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things and space. But on Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. This is a day when we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the result of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Page 30.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu me'amcha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahavat tegaber u'tehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Koreh Penei Lavatecha Vechonei
the top of page 35. Grant us peace, thy most precious gift, O thou eternal source of peace, and enable Israel to be its messengers into the peoples of the earth. Bless our country that it may ever be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of all lands. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of thy name hallow every home and every heart. Praise be thou, Lord, giver of peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Metov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
At this moment in our service, we take this important, this almost sacred opportunity to think of our friends, our neighbors, those who mean so much to us, who are in need of healing of body or spirit. On this Shabbat, we especially think of Jesse Bates, Katie Bates, Carol Pizitz, Bert Cotton, Isaac Petrovsky, Bethany Pridemore, Jerry Harrington, Lena Bluestein, Kenny Siegel, Rucker Collier, Eileen Johnson, Mike Friedman, Chrissy St. Charles and Don St. Charles, Capulet Mendel, and Diane Larson. If you are thinking of a loved one or a friend, we give you this opportunity to think of these names. Our Misha Berach, a prayer that always unites us, is found at the bottom of page 38.
Le'imoteh
We take a few moments for silent prayer. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We just observed Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av, and this is considered the saddest day for Jews annually in our holiday, our observance. It's a day in which we lament and we fast, we don't use chairs, of course we abstain from certain normal things that we like to enjoy daily. Tisha B'Av really mourns, the first destruction of the temple in 586 by the Babylonians, and then in 70 CE, it mourns the destruction caused by the Romans. In addition to that, in 135 CE, it mourns the failed Bar Kokhba revolt in which many Jews died fighting at Beitar. In addition to that, we lament when we, the Jewish people, were expelled from England in 1290. And for those who know the Columbus in 1492 rhyme, but for the Jewish people, we think of the Spanish Inquisition, of course, when Spain kicked out all those who wanted to maintain their Jewish identity. But in the early 19th century, during the genesis of reason and logic, many Reformed thinkers had concerns with regard to observing this holiday. In other words, how do we connect to something in which we as early Reformed Jews have a hard time connecting it? After all, we don't want to engage in the strict regulations that Tisha B'Av requires, and therefore, even today, some contemporary clergy or congregations will come up with some novel or creative way to collectively mourn the difficulty of Jewish history. But in addition to that, it's hard to mourn for the temple and the priests. We don't have this connection because it's so long ago, nearly 2,000 years, and the idea of building the third temple commonwealth is not only concerning but more problematic. Building a third temple would cause significant internal and international issues. On top of that, it's in the best interest of the Jewish people that we refrain from the priestly service because that would require sacrifices. But even as Reformed Jews or even Orthodox Jews, we still have a hard time understanding this holiday. And in fact, I read the work of Hillel Fold. If you don't know his last name, his brother was murdered 2 years ago living in Israel after a terrorist attack, but Hillel considers to be the most well-known tech guru in the state of Israel and is incredibly influential with Startup Nation over there. But he's deeply spiritual and very theological based. And since COVID, he's been posting his reflections and theological challenges. And when he goes to shul, he poses these questions to God in which he wants an answer. And right before Tisha B'Av, Hillel asked the same question that early reformers had. What is the connection we are supposed to have to this lamenting holiday? He attempts to answer this question by citing Maimonides, who said, the reason why we observe Tisha B'Av is because we mourn the disconnect from God. It is true that we lost both temples, and in early biblical understanding, the temple is where God rested, but it's much later where many Jewish thinkers said that even without a resting place, a beautiful, lavish temple, we still can connect to God daily, regardless of where we're at. And this was exemplified, especially when the Israelites, the Judeans, were forced to live in Babylonia. But again, the question we ask is, what do we mourn? Our rabbis teach us that the destruction of the temple, the second one in 70 CE, really had nothing to do with the way the Romans oppressed us. It didn't have anything to do with the fact that the Romans had a massive layoff of blue-collar workers keeping up with the temple. And on top of that, all of the concerning populations in society that created this conflict of revolt. Our rabbis simply reject that. And the main answer that they give as to why the second temple was destroyed was because about the senseless hate the Jews had for one another. And the senseless hate towards one another. And this is exactly how we mourn the disconnection from God. And in a way, this is the way we relate to this holiday, because we as a nation can also say that we have been disconnecting. And senseless hate, as we all know, can be seen everywhere. We've seen heightened senseless hate as we judge so many people during the COVID-19 crisis. And after Memorial Day, even more so with the murder of George Floyd and racism even pounding in our lexicon. And of course, not to mention anti-Semitism. But in addition to outside senseless hate, we also feud, we also judge unfairly, whether with our own family and friends. We also neglect, we turn away from the right thing to do. We waste and we vilify. And therefore, with all these things that we continue to do in our daily lives, I think this is something that we, even as Reformed Jews, need to mourn. In a way, Tisha B'Av is like Yom Kippur. We use this power of prayer to mourn our shortcomings in the past. We also abstain from daily activities that we get to enjoy. And in this holiday, we reflect on ways to improve our lives for our generations and generations to come. See, in Judaism, there's this constant reminder that we mourn the past, that we don't forget about the past, that history and the past, they matter. Our historic ancestors, their actions matter. And what we did an hour ago, in a way, also holds the same weight. This is the burden that we took at Sinai to be responsible for our own actions. This has been a difficult and brutal year for so many of us. The cries from our community, they are still loud. And of course, when we reflect at night and we replay our daily activities, I'm sure we could still come up with a list in which we still feud, we still judge unfairly, we neglect, and we turn away from our sacred blueprint, of course, the Torah. But even in a year like this, or even in a year of 70 CE, 586 BCE, or 135 CE, or 1492, we always get to make a difference in order to prevent more destruction for peace. And the way that we do that is always by reconnecting with God. And as I introduced a few weeks ago, I want to use these special opportunities to use the power of our new High Holiday Prayer Book to make our Judaism complement why we are here. And this is the introductory reading for the Yom Kippur afternoon morning service. This is the reading which will introduce the Amidah, the Tefillah service. And I think the reading itself not only speaks to the importance of Yom Kippur, but it echoes Tisha B'Av and our responsibility that the past matters in order to prevent future destruction within our own people. And here we go. At this hour, Israel stands as one in prayer. All Jews on earth unite through memory and hope. A people unafraid, unvanquished, says to God, "This people you have formed still lives to tell your praise, still lives to share this teaching with our youth. Our ancient journey has not reached its end. The faith implanted at our people's birth is realized from age to age, our sacred covenant. This people, few in number, ventured forth to carve a lonely path through wilderness. With dreams of vines and fig trees, justice in the gates, the land at peace. And still we make our way across the desert. This people you have formed still lives to walk before you. Exiled once to Babylon, we learn the unity of God. A second time, dispersed by Rome, we learn that humanity is one. Shema Yisrael, hear O Israel, the call still sounds. Eternity is ever present in your midst, a heritage of sacred purpose in your heart. Your past tells a story for all peoples. Your future holds a promise still unfolding. At this hour, Israel stands as one in prayer. All Jews on earth unite through memory and hope. We look at one another and we know who we are. We look to our Creator and we know our strength. In pursuit of truth, this people will always live to serve God the Most High for the sake of life. Behind us, pain and glory, before us, holy work. Timeless words command us, and toward eternity we will gaze. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 40 and we rise together for a landing.
השמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשה יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, ואלוהינו עינון. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Yesh Chavim Sha'aro Magia Artsa. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so, as with people that we loved, their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we always remember. On this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of Jillian Adler, Robert B. Berman, Jean Esther Beardstein, Joan Bain Black, Clara Meyer Blank, Erwin Chico Bombshell, Elaine Bressler, Sloan Silman, Julius Cohen, Melvin F. Cohen, Maxine Ofson Cohen, Malvern B. Cooper, David Feinfeld, Francis Friedman, Vernon W. Gibson, Alan D. Golden, Gus Goldstein, Carrie Broda Goodman, Ilya Gross, Cheryl Hannon, Emil Carl Hess, Dorothy Hiller, Rabbi Bernard Honan, Alberto Israel, Julius Jaffe, Miriam Carnes, Jack Samuel Kaufman, Jordan Kirschberg, Elaine Klein, Robert Lapidus, Samuel L. Levine, Anita Lichter, Herman Lowe, A.R. Buddy Mazer, Arlene Colbert Meek, Maurice Mervis, Harry Clark Rosendorf, Carrie Rothholtz, Helen Newman Routman, Sylvia Rudstein, Joseph A. Saxon, Richard Siegel, Abraham Silver, Joan Ahrens Sokol, Ralph Richard Silver Sr., Michael Houston, B. Varon, Anna Weber, Lily Lanes Wheel, Sydney Weinstein, Muriel Weisberg, and J.M. Ziff. Our heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Bess A. Bain Cotton, Harold Apolinsky, Corinne Rifkin, Leon Urbitel, Rabbi David Davis, Lisa Tudson, Joe Hagedorn, Susan Casey, Nelva Epsman, Harvey Gottlieb, and Norris Friedman.
And Sheila and Paul Klein.
We rise together as a sacred kedusha, a sacred community for Immerse Kaddish on page 44. Yikadal v'kadash shumei rabbah, v'yomad yivrach hirote v'amlich machute, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayet beit Yisrael, v'galaw izman kari v'yomru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach li'olam alamei almaya, yitbarach, yishtabach, yitba'ar, yitromam, yitnaseh, Vita dar, vita la, vita la, shmei kutsha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damin ram b'yoma v'yomru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yomru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, v'yasei shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yomru, amen.
Amen.
O se shalom imromav, o yase shalom, aleinu ve'al Yisrael, me'imeru,
When we conclude our Shabbat services with the Don Olam on page 132 at the bottom.